It's a day for us, in uniform and out of uniform, to really honor those who've served in the past, who gave up a portion of their life, whether it be 4 years or 20 years or even more than that, away from family, giving their best of who they are to make our country better, to help protect and serve those here that don't get to serve. Kind of a hard question to answer for one. I actually have two, and they're both my grandparents. So my grandfather Jackson, or my Emmett Jackson, was in the Army Air Corps, and he was assigned. He wanted to be a belly gunner, and he had lost his trigger finger when he was 9 years old in an industrial accident. My family ran a laundromat, and he got his finger bit off in one of the gears. But we still needed people to serve, and he went through boot camp, and he stepped forward to volunteer to be a belly gunner, and the commander was like, I'm actually going to save your life here, and he assigned him to the glider corps, where he went and learned how to build the Waco 2 gliders. He was stationed in Normandy, where he built the gliders, the Army gliders. So this is a Life magazine article that was written about the gliders, and he spent almost his whole entire tour there, in the European theater building gliders, and they were living in tents in these nasty environments, just wet, cold, and what they ended up doing is these gliders would come in almost like train cars. There was 3 train cars or 3 containers to build a glider, but in the infinite wisdom of the military, they were burning all of these containers, and the guys they were carpenters. They're building these gliders with carpentry tools. They're like, we can take these and build barracks. So they ended up building barracks out of these containers. They ended up building a whole entire base out of these containers, from a commissary, a chow hall, haircut, barbershop, to medical, and barracks were all built out of these gliders. And my grandfather was one of the people who came up with that idea. So my grandfather Jackson was in the Army Air Corps, the predecessor to the Air Force, and my grandfather Bills was one of the very first Seabees, and he served in the Pacific area in Guam, Tinian, and Saipan, on and off ships, rebuilding bases. And one of his primary regrets, if you will, he never made it to Hawaii. So he never got to make it here, but he'd been all over the Pacific area, working as a Seabee, in Guam and Tinian and Saipan, both places that I visited a lot, actually, in both my Navy and Air Force careers. Their dedication to the United States, that rang through in our upbringing. Both of these men went and built great civilian careers. My grandfather Bills became a preacher, and then ran motels and hotels and small businesses, all for his entire life. And my grandfather Jackson took his engineering prowess that he got in the Army Air Corps and became a oil field foreman, and moved all over the Texas Panhandle. They used their skill sets to serve the United States government. And initially I was going to be a one and done person. I enlisted for 4 years to pay for college, because that was the only way I could. And then when it came evident that I could use the skills that I have in art and design to help continue to serve, I joined back up, and that's how I ended up in the Air Force, in the Air National Guard. I would want to let them know how proud I am of their service. That it's serving in World War II, the sacrifices that they gave, and how proud that I am of both of their lives that they built after, the families that they built, the lessons that they learned, and how they passed that on to our family. Every generation after them has had someone, at least one person, serve in the military.